Our top story, as the federal agency in charge of highway safety is accused of covering up some explosive data on GM's electric Chevy Volt. Test results showing a crash in this car could spark a fire in the car's battery. Some House Republicans are now asking if the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration delayed the release of that information to protect the government's investment in GM, after everyone from the Transportation Secretary to the President helped launch this vehicle.
Usually most product launches that I've been to, there are people that show up. And in this one, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, there's Secretary LaHood with EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson. In the middle is President Obama himself. On the right side is Secretary Chu of the Energy. Down in the left-hand corner is Labor Secretary Solis and Henny Stoyer. And then you go to the other side, there's Labor Secretary Hilda Solis. So this is an unusual launch.
Joining me now, California Republican Darrell, who's chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for being here. So the point is that the administration was very, very involved in the launch of the Chevy Volt. But your information is that what? Problems were identified and the administration did not bring it to the public's attention?
Well, Megan, when you have a full cabinet meeting effectively at a launch, yes, they were very invested. And our oversight has shown that NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Administration, was advocating a policy of trying to make this a success. So when there were only a few thousand cars sold, they discovered a real risk, not just to the driver potentially, but particularly people handling a car after a crash. And rather than making people know quickly that there was a chance of a catastrophic explosion or fire that could kill, let's say, the salvage yard owner or the tow truck driver, what they did was they thoroughly investigated for 6 months, far longer, and basically, from what we can tell, perhaps trying to find a solution to say it was safe rather than inform people that there was and is a risk that most of the public, and particularly those who handle cars after a crash, weren't aware of. That kind of advocating on behalf of a program that this administration is invested in is inappropriate.
Now, they have come out and said the first fire, and it was only one, occurred in June, that in September, engineers tried to duplicate the problem but could not. They could not duplicate the results, in fact, until November, and that's when they alerted the public. What is wrong with that?
You know, when something like this happens in June, and today the administrator tried to say it could have been arson, he didn't know. When it happens in June and it takes until not September or November, but until Bloomberg outed this event for them to go public. You know, they didn't go public in November because they'd reached a conclusion. They went because it was already becoming public. That's part of the scandal here, is that NHTSA may never have disclosed this if they'd had their way. But the important thing today, and I think this is where Mike Kelly, when he was asking that line of questioning, made it clear, there are real safety concerns for the operation, particularly when there's an accident or some other effect on the lithium-ion batteries. And there needs to be an education process both at the car dealers and with the owner, but more importantly with those who may handle it afterwards. That kind of safety investment, NHTSA should have known proactively.
Now,
they call it,
and I know that, forgive me, I know that NHTSA, they are saying that there is no discernible safety trend with the Chevy Volts, with the battery, that they closed their investigation. That was their conclusion. I want to ask you, sir, do you believe that this poses a conflict of interest when you have the government so invested in a car company like this, since it is the same agency charged with investigating safety concerns?
Well, there's a clear conflict of interest, and it's not the 26% we still own of General Motors. It's that cabinet meeting with everyone, the who's who of this administration, there to launch a vehicle who, even with huge subsidies, has only sold 8,000 cars to date. And again, this is not the first or the last electric car. NHTSA being dedicated to say there are separate safety concerns with this and any electric vehicle using all or partial lithium-ion batteries, and that this is an education process that they should be proactive on. Their mandate is safety, not promoting new technology.
I know they say that this car has faced a disproportionate level of scrutiny because of the government's role in it. They think this is really unfair, that the car is safe, and the only reason they're getting called before the Congress is because they believe it's a political witch hunt. I'll give you a quick last word on that, sir.
Megan, Toyota is one of the finest finest automobile companies in the world. We brought them before Congress when there were failures. We brought Akio Toyoda, the president, just as we brought the president of General Motors before the committee, and we got assurances that they would do better. In the case of Toyota, clearly they were as good as their word. We want NHTSA and General Motors to be equally good.
Chairman Issa, thank you so much. All the best, sir.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, quick correction on an earlier note from this story. Taxpayers, as it turns out, have subsidized the Chevy Volt to the tune of roughly $24,000 per vehicle, not $240,000. Stray zero in there. That's good news.